Okay, hi, so I'm Jonathan Rees Davies, and this is a presentation on stakeholders, on analysis, mitigation and prioritisation. So a little introduction first. It's, well, the basis of this presentation is to analyse Stockwell Street, project at Stockwell Street, which is the new School of Architecture, Design and Construction. It's at the handover stage, delivered to Dwell. So the main key points were to be analyse the stakeholders, prioritise, and then the key strategies for mitigation. So just a quick definition of what a stakeholder is. Fewings defines a stakeholder as anyone that has an interest in the process or outcome of a project, so anyone who has any kind of input or is affected by a project. So there's two main types of stakeholders. You've got internal stakeholders and external stakeholders. And then within these two types, you have two further subcategories of stakeholders. So you have internal client demand, which for example will be the client or the end user. And you have internal client supply, which will be the contractor and funding sponsors. And then for external, you have legislative, which is just, it'll be council, government, and all kind of organisations like that. And finally, the second external stakeholder is third party and private, which would be National Rail and just neighbours associated with the project. So just to give you an idea in relation to this project for Stockwell Street of some of the stakeholders that could be involved in these categories. So internal stakeholders, client demand, so we've got students, staff and lecturers. So staff and lecturers split into two groups, both with different needs. Staff more administrative and lecturers more interested on space management. Then you have the funding bodies, University of Greenwich, of course, facilities management personnel, and finally, last example is retail space, which would be the art shop and cafe. Client supply, you've got contractor of the middle stage, which was Osborne. Then you've got the project managers, the university estate development manager, and the internal project manager and external project manager, essentially. University funding, you've got fitting out contractors, security, suppliers of material, catering and subcontractors, as like examples. And then legislative, you've got Greenwich Council, Royal Borough of Greenwich, Greater London Authority, Government, World Heritage Site Group and English Heritage will be interested in specifications, adhering to specifications that were given in the initial stages. And finally, you've got third party and private, which is going to be the National Rail, Navies directly attached, Greenwich Town Business in general, and local residents. So once we've analysed and identified these initial stakeholders, we can begin to more deeply analyse them. So a technique for doing this is called Mandelow's matrix. The point of it is that it enables appropriate categorisation of stakeholders' priority, of a stakeholder's priority in a project. And it does this by analysing two key features. It first analyses the level of interest the stakeholder has in the project. So it can either be a high interest or a low interest. So for example, low interest will be maybe a student at this stage, and high interest will be the contractors. And then it also analyses the level of power that the stakeholder has in that project. So low power will be staff and lecturers, because they don't really have much say in things, and high power would be just, again, funding, sponsorship, and stuff like that. So by combining these two factors, you can work out the level of influence possible on a project.